Okay. Well, hello. My name is shoot that light's better. All right. Hello, my name is Isaiah Murillo. And for what I did for my persuasion topic is how we could prevent like ocean acidification and what causes it and what damage it's doing to the environment. And so and to start it off, I got a quote from a source called the NOAA or the National Ocean Society, and it defines ocean acidification as a reduction of pH to the ocean water level for a long period of time, which causes the pH to drop, thus creating the ecosystem less inhabitable to the organisms that live within certain parts of the ocean. And to another way that that ocean acidification occurs is carbon dioxide. The ocean absorbs it, which also causes it for its pH to go down. But also something called acid rain, which is phosphorus and sulfur dioxide, I believe,
Mhm.
which is caused by human activity. And the acid rain just goes on all over the ocean and coastal areas that also reduces its uh, pH. And how this affects the ecosystem is that coral reefs, it's also called as coral bleaching, which it causes the coral reefs to like start to turn a different color, like mostly turn gray, white. And that's because of the pH. It's causing the carbonate to like disintegrate, causing it to be uninhabitable for the organisms that give it its own nutrients that it gains. And scientists are thinking of a way to like prevent it from uh getting worse. They were thinking of planting more trees by coastal areas, which could suck up, no, not suck up, absorb more dioxide so that the ocean doesn't absorb all of it. And thus making it the pH go up slightly through time. And this also helps the environment around where they plant the trees as well. It can make skies clear, the less smog, well, not less, but make it fresher, the air fresher.
Mhm.
And this ocean acidification, it also affects uh our community as well, or like not our, but communities by the ocean, like fisheries. The fish aren't getting their nutrients because of the how acidic the ocean's getting. So that thus the fishing companies don't get as much as a whole because there aren't a lot more organisms in the area because they don't have any their nutrients that they usually get from like the coral reefs or just natural organisms that habit the area. And to conclude it all, I think it's best that we put our resources into trying to preserve and yeah, trying to preserve the ocean because it habit it homes a lot of Earth's diverse organisms. Like they say that they that 80% of the ocean is still unexplored. So there's a lot more sea creatures that might be affected that we're not aware of because of ocean acidification. And if we fail to act, our oceans will become unrecognizable, uh, and it will also cause our communities cause them have problems because the fishing companies' economics are going to go down, which will lose jobs. But overall, I feel like we need to support the organizations that are trying to prevent the ocean acidification from happening, and just so that our future generations have a better life. Thank you.
That was really good.
Thank you.
All right. My persuasive speech is Kava is better than Chipotle. Um, Although they are different cuisines, Kava is more Mediterranean, Chipotle is more Mexican food. And they do have similar ordering processes. I think Kava offers a better experience through quality, ambiance, and just more for your meal. So, my first point is going to be quality of service, then ambiance, and why their popular menu item, why Kava's is better than Chipotle's popular staple bowl. So, the first thing I want to talk about is the quality of service. So, although Kava and Chipotle are very different restaurant experiences, um, Kava has better ambiance. And by that, I mean like when you enter, I don't know if you've ever been into a Kava store, but it looks very clean compared to Chipotle's. Like every time I go into a Chipotle, it's very like loud and messy. And even the ordering process looks neater. So Kava offers 41 topping options compared to Chipotle having 20 topping options, as well as the aesthetic design of Kava. Metal, they have a like a steel metal aesthetic to it. And the lighting is not harsh at all. I noticed that a lot of natural lighting comes in a Kava store compared to a Chipotle's very like harsh lighting. And the next thing I want to talk about is their bowls. So I got this information from both their websites, from kava.com and chipotle.com. So Chipotle's bowl is 9 by 7 inches, and Kava's bowl is 13 by 7.87 inches. So that's one thing. And then Chipotle is also known for not giving full scoops in their bowls or their toppings. And that is why I think Kava is better than Chipotle. Um, the ambiance, the food service, and a quote that I got from while going into this was quality is pride of workmanship. And I got that from W. Edwards Deeming. And yeah,
Good job.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go next. Let me stand up. Oh, make sure I'm still in frame. Okay. All right, so my name's Carmen Estrada. Um, I'll just jump right into it, I guess. So in 2023, over 2.5 million United States middle and high school students reported current use of e-cigarettes, according to the CDC. Um, this is due to flavors like cotton candy, mango, mint, strawberry, whatever crazy flavors they come up with. These are designed to attract young people, not necessarily adult smokers. Um, and these flavors are kind of not really designed to help adults quit. They're created to appeal to youth by making nicotine addiction taste like a dessert. Um, because of this, I think that flavored e-cigarettes should be banned nationwide because they're fueling youth addiction, posing serious health risks, and undermining public health efforts that have been ongoing for years. Because obviously we know that cigarette use was a big problem for decades. And they tried to curb this using e-cigarettes, but now we're facing other problems that they really didn't anticipate when they started coming up with this alternative. According to the CDC, FDA administration regulations and other proven tobacco prevention policies might further reduce youth tobacco use. Um, I believe that when a product endangers children and public health, especially children, the government has a responsibility to intervene and regulate this product. Um, so for my first point, like I said, vaping poses serious health risks, especially to a developing adolescent brain. Nicotine affects brain development. It impairs attention, memory, and learning, and these are all very important things for an adolescent brain. Like a teenager going through high school or someone entering college, these are very important things for their development that nicotine is now affecting. Um, in addition to this, e-cigarettes have been linked to lung damage and heart issues, which again, not a surprise. We've known this because of cigarettes and the nicotine in those. We're just now seeing this continue on with teenagers using a different method for inhaling. Um, According to Johns Hopkins Medicine, sorry, it's kind of a mouthful. E-cigarettes expose users to harmful substances such as formaldehyde, which can cause irreversible lung damage. So again, we're just seeing a lot of health risks because of this, and people keep using it. To continue, flavored e-cigarettes are a leading reason teens start vaping in the first place and then become addicted to nicotine. So we used to see first people use cigarettes and then kind of use e-cigarettes or vapes to kind of get rid of that addiction, but now we're kind of seeing the opposite start up. According to a survey done by the FDA in 2022, 69% of youth users stated that the flavors were their reason for vaping. And so there's multiple reasons that they found in the survey, such as like it becomes a habit, honestly, which then develops into an addiction. So it's kind of a snowball effect. Um, like I stated before, appealing flavors act as the gateway that draws in teens who would otherwise not really be attracted to tobacco products. Um, so in the past, we used to see that obviously cigarettes were the attractive thing to do. This was decades ago. And then it kind of became the gross thing as we started moving away from that. So people don't really smoke cigarettes as often, but now these are used, these e-cigarettes are kind of like a gateway in order to then start using tobacco products. According to the Journal of Adolescent Health, there were findings that they published that stated flavored products, teens using flavored products are more likely to develop a nicotine dependence. And that's from 2021. So some argue, obviously, like I also mentioned, some argue that flavored e-cigarettes do help adult smokers quit traditional cigarettes. According to an article by Vox written in 2020, this obviously was the intended purpose of them. They're supposed to be seen as like a healthier alternative and a way to curb this addiction. Some adults do benefit from this, obviously. But research does show, according to the FDA, that the flavors are disproportionately used by youth. So all these dessert flavors like strawberry or mango or whatever else they have, we have so many, they're used by youth and not really older smokers. Um, in fact, the majority of adults who do use e-cigarettes to successfully switch over from normal cigarettes, they tend to gravitate more towards tobacco flavored or more traditional menthol flavored products to kind of give like a similar effect. They're not really going for the dessert. Um, Again, in 2020, the CDC found that young adults aged 18 to 25 were more likely to use these fruity flavors and dessert flavors. Adults 35 and older were more likely to use these traditional tobacco flavors because it's closer to the real thing, I guess. Um, and so that brings me back to the main point. If a product's primary appeal to a popul is sorry, if a product's primary appeal is to a population it is not intended for, which in this case is minors or just youth in general, then the risks of keeping it on the market outweigh the benefit that it might offer to others, which in this case would be the adults trying to get rid of a cigarette addiction. Um, Currently, the vaping industry has often operated with light regulations and lacks enforcement of regulations that do exist, and this needs to change. So even though they do have regulations, obviously, for how old you have to be to purchase it, we're not seeing this being fully enforced in some places because obviously we're still seeing teenagers vaping. You walk into a shopping center or you're walking around like a theme park and you walk into a cloud of cotton candy flavored smoke because you see a teenager vaping. So obviously they're not being too strict with this. Critics also claim that banning flavored e-cigarettes could lead to a black market or drive teens to use traditional cigarettes instead. However, in 2018, San Francisco did try to impose a flavor ban. Um, and what they found was that this is according to JAMA Pediatrics. They found that youth vaping did decrease significantly, and there wasn't really increased use of cigarettes, which is kind of what people seem to think that instead of vaping, they'll go to cigarettes. So it did kind of work. This demonstrates that with strong regulation and education about the risks, we are able to protect youth and prevent them from using it. So to conclude, flavored e-cigarettes are fueling a youth addiction crisis, and banning the products is necessary um, for for to safeguard their public health, basically. Flavors make vaping more attractive to teens. The health risks are serious, as we've seen, as with any type of nicotine or tobacco product. Um, we saw that in San Francisco, bans can be successful. So even if an outright ban is not possible, perhaps limiting the flavors or making them less accessible could be a good way. So we should urge lawmakers and health officials to implement a ban on these flavors in order to prevent another generation from getting hooked on nicotine, basically. And that's my speech. Sit down,
Good
Dan.
job, Herman. That was really good. That was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I was also going to comment of what would happen if they were banned, and you also answered that for me when I was thinking about that during your speech.
I'm glad. I'm just worried. I think I did go over a little bit, so we'll see
You're okay.
how that goes.
All
But
right.
okay, cool.
I'll,
I
s-
think we're